Welcome to Table Goth. Tonight, we are serving Vampire the Masquerade, the next in our series I'm calling Cult Chronicles. On this, I'm calling Heaven and Hedonism, and you'll see why. Here at Table Goth, we share stories best told in the dark. We have discussed our boundaries. Safety tools are in place for the cast. But given the improvisational nature of the story, we cannot predict all content that will be explored. We have gathered to tell a dreadful tale, so please take care of yourselves as you keep this in mind. Tonight, joining us at the table are, starting things off with Raven. Tell us who you are, who you're playing, please.
Hi, I'm Raven, the artist formerly known as Wreck-It Raven. Just kidding, that's still my name. But I am playing Madame Riafine, who is a Ventru brothel owner and exchanger of information.
Okay. Chastity?
Hello, I'm Chastity. I will be playing Thalia tonight. And she is La Sombra Bahari. We'll see what else she gets up to.
All around. Not trouble at all. Speaking of not trouble, April.
Hello, I'm April, and I will be playing the Tremere Delia. Forgot my name.
Della, I hope,
Della.
because that's what I put, because that's what you told me. I see you trying to change it.
No,
Professionals.
I didn't know how to say it. It's Della,
You
right?
made it up. Yeah. And then there's me. I'm Bully. I'm gonna try to be the storyteller. We'll see how long that lasts in this. Please, you at the audience, have a seat, mind your manners. The table is set. Our ritual begins now. Welcome. The year is 1818. We are in what historians will call the Regency era of the United Kingdom, which is where we're located, or where the story will be taking place. A few things are going on in the world of Kindred. Mithras, who runs this entire domain, the self-proclaimed god Kindred, who is strong enough to even the Camarilla can't quite impress their will upon him. He's gone momentarily, we think. There's rumors of him being abroad, as far as the Far East potentially, but he's been gone for almost 20 years now. A venture named Valerius is in charge in his place. And that's fine and well to most of the Kindred, but not all. We're going to be looking at a group of Kindred, our current players and characters included, that are gathering to discuss potentially a change in leadership. Valerius has declared himself prince. Most people agree with this. He seems like the next successor to Mithras. But this long rule of one venture after another and making their own rules, making their own sect almost, just doesn't work well with everyone. For example, the Tremere, the followers of Set, the certain clans have been more or less kicked out of the country from Mithras. While Valerius is a little more open to this, it's still time for a change. This has been going on for years. There's been whispering and rumors because it's very dangerous to be caught talking out loud about wanting to usurp the god King Mithras. But rumors, secrets thrive, especially among spaces where our three characters operate. And this is the first time that a lot of the people who have expressed supporting a change of regime are all being gathered in this same place to actually put into motion a plan to overthrow Valerius, who is currently in charge, and establish a new order that will be ready for when Mithras eventually returns. This meeting, of course, has to happen behind closed doors, off the main island where Britain sits, an island that you wouldn't find on any maps. In fact, an island you wouldn't even find with your eyes unless it wanted to be found. The handful of ships, one of which all three of you are on, are sailing at night, of course. The weather's fine. The wind is strong. You're making headway, maybe milling about a little bit on the deck of the ship. And it's not a terribly long journey before, seemingly out of nowhere, an island rises before you. Not a terribly large island, maybe a couple miles around. You can sort of see all sides of it from your vantage point. And this space is dominated by one large, impressive building, a basilica of sorts. This large cathedral-like dome structure, part church, part fortress, mix of sort of all of these. A building the like of which does not exist anywhere in the United Kingdom currently. So it's impressive that someone was able to build such a massive structure just a few miles off the coast without anyone knowing. You've not heard of this place, you've not seen this place, but here it is in all of its splendor. You've had probably a chance to mill about, talk to some other people on the ships, kind of have an idea of sort of the other who's who that's here. Some people, you know, are known detractors, known people of like, I figured they would be here. I know they're not happy with the current leadership either. Others, you might be quite surprised that you thought, oh, I thought this person was very loyal to Mithras and that whole cult, but I guess not. I guess they're here with other intentions, which is interesting. Though there's not a lot of surprises, because again, you three have your hand in a lot of secrets. You deal in information, so you probably have less surprises among spotting the guests than most would in this situation. But you sort of have been told the basis for what it is. This is a very formal event. This is a way for the new kindred society that will be put in place once everything is said and done to meet and mingle and celebrate. After all, this transfer of power is all said and done. You don't really know the specifics. You don't know what the plan is, but they seem so confident that instead of this being sort of a tense like meeting of strategy, it's more of a meeting to like, hey, this is going to happen. It's in the bag. Let's party. And of course, let's figure out who else is in on this. And that's what this is. That's what this ball, this grand affair has been called. So you've come dressed appropriately. The only rules is this will be similar to an Elysium, which is to say there's rules in place. Violence against other kindred is not allowed. Using your disciplines against other kindred is also not allowed. But of course, with a lot of Elysiums, it just depends on who can enforce that and if you get caught. So keep that in mind. But again, it's supposed to be a celebration. This is supposed to be a social gathering more than anything. And, of course, an opportunity to show off, as many kindred take these opportunities whenever they can get them. So, and you've been asked to bring someone, specifically a mortal. Everyone should bring a mortal of their choosing. No rules exactly who this mortal should be, just someone who you choose will kind of deliver its own message. So we'll see who those choices are very shortly. But we'll jump right in to a handful of ships docking on this island that seemed to appear from nowhere. Quite a few servants, workers of the like, seem ready to gather the ships, welcome you to the island, and immediately take you to gather outside this massive basilica where Some are already gathered inside, and they're preparing to announce one by one some of the others who will be arriving. And that's when we're going to jump in. Your announcement, your arrival. I think it's appropriate that we start with Riafine. So, as there's a common uniform with the servants here. It's not the traditional what you should wear, sort of the formal. It's formal dress, but everything in this time period has extremely specific rules with like what tie you wear, what jacket you wear, for what occasion, all of that. They seem to be ignoring some of this. Their clothes, it's sort of an all-white deal with red ties. And not quite, the tailoring's interesting. A lot of the servants are, the clothes are a little looser. It's sort of a mix of sort of almost more like a relaxed sort of, you're getting like an almost Mediterranean feel mixed with nods to sort of the high society of this era. But some of the servants open a set of doors and they announce Madame Riafine as you enter. So tell us a little bit. First, tell us what we think the others. There's already a crowd gathered. What do other people probably think about you? What's your reputation? What's known to the public about you? And then, of course, what do you look like? What are you wearing? What is your entrance telling these people?
So I will say I have garnered a reputation of being quite useful in many situations. People know not to cross me. They know that usually spells death. I keep secrets. The best way to learn said secrets is through the art of lust. A lot of things are spilled when you're feeling some semblance of desire. Yes, I do quite think that there is a level of respect that I have earned amongst my fellow kindred. That being said, of course, I am not one to operate within rules. So a gown as black as night is what I will wear. Sure, you can add all the bells and whistles, but I'd rather not. So the black gown is collared and fastens right in front of my throat with a small black gem outlined in gold. The cut is rather form-fitting and lacy. There's a little skin that pops through, but not enough to be considered overtly scandalous, just enough to lay the groundwork if needed. There is a slit in the dress up to the knee, and my fingers are adorned with silver and gold rings, perfectly manicured nails, and I am wearing my favorite boots with hints of red around the buttons.
Amazing. As you make your entrance, look around this room, I see plenty of familiar faces, mostly at this point, quite a few mortal servants as well. Let's roll for your entrance, shall we? Can I get an etiquette charisma from you?
You can, if I knew what that meant.
So, next to etiquette, there's a little dice button. Do you see it? Click that.
Yeah.
And then I'll ask you what to add to that. And you will choose charisma.
Okay.
And then boom. And then it shows the results right here. With your hunger's at 1, so it takes that into consideration. And you got 7 successes. In Vampire the Masquerade, typically a full success is 3 successes. So you have killed it, as we say. Not only that, we have 2 10s in that. That's a critical. Critical counts for 4 instead of 2. So this is 9 successes, which is outrageous at this point. But that critical includes your hunger dice. So your first roll is also a messy critical, as we call it. This means you succeeded. Riafine succeeded. But also the beast succeeded. The beast is the one who really won this roll as a messy critical. And we were just having a discussion about compulsions. So what a good time to bring one into play. Riafine is a Ventru. The Ventru have a compulsion called arrogance, which is going to set in as you enter this room and look around. I'll read arrogance to you. The need to rule rears its head in the vampire. They stop at nothing to assume command of a situation. So someone must obey an order from the vampire. Any action not directly associated with leadership receives a 2 dice penalty. This compulsion lasts until the order's been obeyed. The order must not be supernaturally enforced, such as to dominate. So right now, all the beast wants is for someone to listen to you. Anything that's not involved making someone listen to you is going to be at a penalty for now. But goddamn, was that an entrance? Everyone's eyes are on you. That Ventru arrogance, that compulsion almost helps with that. It gives you just an air of superiority that you clearly believe about yourself, but is strong enough to make others believe as well. So there's many sort of no one's ignoring you. One of the worst things you can do upon an entrance is to act like it's not a big deal, to sort of be talking to someone else, or, oh yeah, it's so-and-so. It's quiet. Every eye's on you. Even if there's a few whispers that you think might not be the nicest about you, everyone has to acknowledge that you have arrived, and they do. As you continue in to join the rest of the crowd. So you three have worked together for a while. You sort of have a symbiotic relationship. Who do you think would be next? Your magician or your assassin?
I would have to say
Yeah.
my magician.
Next is announced is
Oh, that's me, Della.
Della. Yeah.
You would see a woman coming up with a veil, a shawl, very lacy, and a dress that doesn't quite fit the style. It was probably obviously borrowed to be a little bit fancier for such an occasion. Kind of attached to her are bits and bobs and little things. Bits of bone and animal pieces hang off of her. And if you look closely to her skin, you see kind of runes and things etched into her skin from years of magic practice of learning how to do her craft. As she follows very quietly, head down, keeping the role of a Tremere.
What is the general rumors, thoughts? What's sort of the reputation Della has among kindred society?
Especially right now with how things are and the fact that Tremere have just been brought in, I think a lot of them see her more as a new fascination, a toy, something that they don't normally get to see. And when so-and-so comes back, they'll be gone anyway. So don't take them seriously. They won't be here for long.
You're also an unfettered Tremere. Tremere at this time are very much part of the rigid, strict pyramid hierarchy. Della is not. Della's found others to work with, non-Tremere, which is also interesting. Della, if you'll follow suit, and please give me an etiquette charisma.
Oh,
there you go. All of that build up for one success.
Oh, like me does not know how to make an entrance.
So you make your entrance. Some of who you are, some of these little blood sorcery baubles and runes and things on you, making their point, but creating more uneasiness and everything. Riffin, you're already in the room, and you can even hear some of the others just talk about this wayward Tremere. And there's some fascination, but you can hear some people are like, I wonder what her story is exactly. It's quite interesting. A Tremere here of all places. I heard she works for the Ventru, but you would hear others been like, it's actually not as exciting as it seems. The Tremere on their own means nobody wanted them. So why should we?
I think she kind of just has a little giggle under her breath as she continues walking through the room.
Yeah.
I forgot. I also have I have eerie presence. So
You do. You have eerie presence.
I forgot
Those
that.
of you who pick up the story, the vampire player's guide from Table of Goth, can check that out. What is your specific affliction with eerie presence?
She wears the veil and the shawls and everything. Is if you look very closely, you could see red lines running through her skin as the blood is just moving through her. The stronger the spell, the magic, the more drained she gets, or vice versa.
So like a mix of an eerily translucent skin with an unnaturally clear, defined veins. Yeah, that's an eerie presence, all
But
right.
it doesn't but looking at it, if you were to see veins, the blood isn't moving right. It's almost kind of snaking through.
Interesting. Yeah, a veil will help with that for sure. Yeah,
Totally.
you're in, and you can, I assume, join a section where Riafine has placed herself. And then finally, Thalia, as the announcement is made. Thalia of Clan La Sombra. There's an interesting inflection with La Sombra, a couple looks. But yes, what do we see as Thalia enters?
I think Riafine and Della would know right away that she's very uncomfortable. Not because of she can't command a room, but because everyone here looks like food to her. And you could see it on her face. She walks in, she's in a floor-length gown, long sleeves, all black, but very against the age. She's got a very plunging neckline, and covering the cleavage a bit with intricate jewels, that kind of body harnesses around her. For flavor, with your permission, ST, there is what looks like at the bottom of her dress, lick of shadows, almost as if the shadows in the room are drawing towards her. And there is, I think, just a general presence of, don't think you can hide from me, as she looks out onto the crowd.
Okay, what are the general thoughts, feelings that you think most of the kindred society would have about Thalia?
I think a majority of kindred society would be frightened of her. Her clan is known to be affiliated, if not the leaders of the spot, at this time. However, there is something to be said about a Sombra that chooses to join the Camarilla. Some would think that there would be conflict that constantly follows her, but the reality is a La Sombra chooses what it means to be a La Sombra, and if that means that they are Camarilla, they certainly earned their spot. And so, yes, I think general fear, probably curiosity, and maybe a little bit disgust.
Amazing. Let's follow suit. Let's get that etiquette charisma roll. 2 successes, which is good for 2 dice.
Yeah.
As you have that general presence of danger, but not like a respectable danger though. You're not wowing anyone necessarily because of who you are, but you make more towards the intended statement you're looking for here. There's a lot less. You're sure there's a few people sort of turn, maybe who want to say a thing or two to each other, but there's a little bit of nervousness that just makes them be quiet for now. They're going to talk shit about you soon, but they're going to wait. As you finish your entrance and then make your way to complete our trio. So, the 3 of you are gathered. A few more are announced. Some that may pique your curiosities. Sir Adrian Brimsley, which Riafine you know quite well. He is a venturer who runs a gentleman's club called the Heavy Crown. There's a lot of mixed business. He sends plenty of clients, plenty of the gentlemen from his club to your establishment, aware that you'll be able to learn things that they don't even discuss among the safety of the boys' club. You know, your girls or boys can get a little more out of them even. In exchange for letting a secret or two go by him, he pays quite handsomely. He is a venture through and through. He was selected because of his lineage, because of his family, because of his nobility. He has the wealth to back it. But for someone who's had everything handed to him and then some, he's quite capable. He definitely has the makings of a leader, and certainly the look of it as well. He appears very well bred, expensively handsome, sort of the result of genes that could have easily made him clearly inbred, but luckily the right genes seem to have gotten through, and he got the better features from his selective line, we'll say. For his class, he's quite well built, something you don't really need muscles when you're upper class, but he has them anyway. Very strong jaw, very deep brown eyes, and a darker palette to his skin as well. He's handsome, he's rich, he's dangerous. We all know the type. You have a little bit of a problem with him though recently. He borrowed some of your workers for a special event and, let's say, never returned them. Something happened to them. He never quite respected. He always assumed you also just thought of them as workers that could be replaced. He paid you handsomely for the lost fees from you losing some of your workers, but he doesn't really get that those are still people to you in some respect. They're more than just simply a means to an end. No, some might be to you. Some of the ones you lost in a recent escapade were a little more than that. But again, not everything's worth immediately firing back, immediately making a fuss about. And then rumors started swirling about this event, and you thought it best to bide your time. But you're surprised to see him here, because he's certainly one who benefits from the current regime. But he's here. We see a man named Harris Effington, well-known Toreador, also comes from old money. He's a great time. He throws some of the best parties, and he puts a lot of his money and reputation on the line for them. Very likable, and he's even more likable because he doesn't really seem dangerous. Like, it seems like he's kind of malleable for someone with as much power and influence as he has. Which maybe that's why everyone likes him, because everyone thinks they can sort of push him this way or that and use him to their own ends. Again, he doesn't seem the type to really get involved in politics, so it's interesting that he's here, but also a good omen for a party. If he's here, it's probably going to be a good time, even if he's not throwing it. We have Margaret Giovanni. Her clan is the newest official clan. They've only been around for a few hundred years after not really taking the heat off the Tremere, but the Tremere were the usurpers, the ones who diablerized their way into being full-fledged kindred. Now the Giovanni didn't start as mortals. They were already kindred, but they ate their antediluvian. They ate their founder. And now they've claimed sort of the seat of the necromancers. They're not officially in any of the sects, though. They're independent. But there's been rumors of there's a Cappadocian, the vampires that were all eaten by the Giovanni, that was very close to Mithras, though rumors are he is no longer with us. We have one more sort of notable person would be Vera Volgan. She is a Russian noble who is newer to the area, but has made quite an impression. It's not surprising seeing her here, as she has always sort of talked about changing things, a new era. She is Malkavian. But even though she is an outsider and of a questionable clan to some, and with a lot of new ideas, she has the respect, the power, the money to make people take her seriously. Just a few of the notable ones of a string of more people who arrive. But eventually you're left to your own devices. People start breaking off, saying hello to each other, mingling. You're sort of kept in this sort of a very large but sort of entrance room. Assuming you'll be allowed, you're told there will be a ballroom, a dance, something more formal in the near future. Some people are already sort of talking. Some people are already sort of getting their cards filled. Those not actual cards in play here for who's going to dance with who, because that says a lot. But the servants are going around, but instead of refreshments, they just carry silver platters with really an assortment of decorative, well, not decorative. You, especially Thalia, could see those are very sharp, usable knives. Just little silver blades, kind of like a fan spread out on a platter as they walk around.
Right. I have a quick question about the room in particular.
Mm-hmm.
Other than the entrance in which we came in ourselves, are there other doors?
Yes, many.
And where
There's
are
a huge staircase that leads up and leads to all sorts of doors.
Okay.
There's a couple huge doors that also lead further in. You assume probably look like would lead to a large ballroom type area. And then there's side doors as well. There's lots of places to go, but everyone seems sort of corralled into this room for now.
Okay.
This room that's actually decorated. Actually, can I get another roll from everyone? An investigation wits.
Okay. I'd say that Thalia in particular, given what her job is, and technically her boss, she would be focusing on anything that could be a particular threat to her group.
Noted. Madame Riafine with no successes. Talia with a critical, 5 successes, a messy critical. Della with 1.
Question.
Yes.
You said that this is a place where we would not be using powers, but would something like Sense the Unseen be something that would have been considered a breach?
It's up to you what the risk is. Sense the Unseen, it's very difficult to know that someone is using Sense the Unseen. The only way someone would kind of be able to tell is if someone else was using Sense the Unseen. It's just one of those things where if you get caught using it, you know they were using it too.
Like, oh, you can't tell on me because I can tell on you. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Damn it, I feel like Della would be the one who like walks into the room with that just on without thinking about it. And so I would have walked in like with Sense the Unseen up.
Okay, we're starting off not thinking about things. Yeah, no, it's fine. I love it.
Well, because she's not normally around a lot of vampires outside of her own.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent.
And that's her thing. Or is that
Yes.
is that a really dumb thing to have done?
No, there's no dumb decisions. Okay. Only decisions that are fun for me to use against you. Or decisions that can reveal some really cool stuff. It's all good.
Yeah. She would walk in with Sense the Unseen up.
Amazing. So a few things happen here. Fortunately, Riafine, there's a lot going on here. You're more focused on the people than sort of your physical surroundings, we'll say. Listening for rumors, seeing who reacts to who, seeing who's already starting to pair up. Della, I'm going to say, please give me, since you're using Sense the Unseen, down at the bottom of your discipline, if you'll roll what is it? Is it wits aspects?
Aspects.
Beautiful. So right next to sense unseen, you should have a little option to roll that wits plus it and your discipline. You got a 4 on sense the unseen. Excellent. And Talia, you got a 5 on a regular wits investigation, with kind of looking a little towards potential danger. So we'll start with you. One thing you notice with that is this is a room with like really huge chandeliers. This is a time where, of course, candles are still used. And normally, even the presence of chandeliers, controlled flames aren't necessarily a problem for Kindred. It's when flames present a real danger where the beast might start acting funny. But looking around, I mean, still there's these things with a bunch of little fires hanging above everyone's head. You're paying particular attention to them. And they're not, though. They're not, meaning they're not lit. There's no candles lit here. There's a glow. There's a beautiful glow. This is a very well lit room. And the more you're paying attention, the more you realize the source of the light must be supernatural in nature. It's something that, like, it fits so well. It's not until you really go through with a fine-tooth comb, really looking at everything, that you realize, oh, it's not. There's something else lighting this.
Right. Okay.
And I will say, as far as clocking particular dangers, one of the people that was announced, a woman named Grace Roseridge, she was announced as a bruja. You had a critical here. You're a trained killer, and you know how to spot another trained killer. The way this woman carries herself, you can tell there is certainly some sort of weapon hidden on her person that you can tell. It's very well done too, to where it's really hard to notice, but there's just a slight difference in movement she has to make in her gait that would point to some sort of blade in her dress. But it's also the way that she's also scanning the crowd for a similar thing. The way she's definitely moving, the way there's little alterations made to her outfit where it blends in quite well, but it wouldn't restrict her movement like a traditional wear to something like this would. That strikes you as interesting, especially because this is not someone you've heard of before.
I think upon noting that, I will actually lean in to Riafin and tell her that woman there announced as Grace. She's got a weapon. She's here to kill someone. Interesting to find out who.
Another thing happens to you, Thalia, because this was a messy critical, similar to Riafin, as I guess everyone wants to start off just letting the beast off the leash.
Well, you know.
The Lasombra compulsion is ruthlessness. So the Lasombra failure is not an option. Your blood will urge them to act, to any act conceivable to reach their goals, whether in the moment or long-lasting plots. So the next time you fail any action, you're going to receive a 2 dice penalty to all rolls at a future attempts until that same action succeeds.
All right, then.
So next time you mess something up, you're not going to be able to focus on anything else except getting that thing right.
Okay. Right.
So these are 2 great things to have in play. Arrogance and ruthlessness are...
I kind of just like nod and like casually, gaze amongst the crowd to be sure that I don't lock eyes with anybody in particular. And I nod.
I think I would have given her a general direction of like, north, east, whatever it is, to the direction that Grace is occupying.
Very interesting. No?
I assumed that everyone here was all had the same plans. It seems that is not the case.
Love, you'll come to learn that even when everybody seems they're on the same page, they are not.
Speaking of things not being on the same page, Della, on your sense the unseen, you got 4 successes. Which, looking around, you notice kind of something similar where like the light source isn't quite right, and you can sort of see through one of those walls up there. No, it's there again. And you're sort of noticing bits and pieces of like almost like illusionary patchwork. Like parts of what you're seeing, parts of the walls, just different parts of the structure aren't real, are a very, very convincing illusion. Even with your ability in Auspex, you're able to like momentarily notice them, but not like consistently dispel the illusion, if that makes sense. Like for a moment, you sort of saw through this wall because there wasn't a wall there, but a second later, it's there. And if you concentrate, maybe it fades a bit, but you can't quite get that same initial like fully see through it. And you're just getting weird patches of that here and there.
Is it from the things I can see from the other side? Is it to hide rooms? Or is it a decorative illusion? Like this is
it's a mixture. Maybe there's something hidden, but also, yeah, maybe this grand basilica, maybe it isn't quite what it seems. Maybe it's looks nicer because of supernatural means.
I think this time I'll lean over to Madame Rathine and Talia both. I'll just kind of, I feel like they're probably standing a little bit in front of me, and I'll lean over. The walls are not what they seem, and I'll kind of just like gently tap on their like shoulders to directions. And specifically the one upstairs that you said, they are both protecting and hiding the creator.
Well,
Madame Rathine just kind of like guffaws.
Cool.
And I thought this was gonna be boring.
Who arranged for all this?
Would I know who arranged for it?
You got an invitation, and the more you looked into it, the more you realize other people got an invitation. You don't really know. Actually, you have a name, Phaedra.
Phaedra.
Who was impressively difficult to dig up any information on them. They're not originally from here. You were able to find some manipulated documents showing that she came from Turkey.
Okay.
Do you have any idea what clan she was part of?
Unsure. Let's make a roll.
Oh no.
Rathine, so this will sort of be retroactively some of the digging you would have done. Actually, and anyone could do this. The whole team could have been on it. We'll make this a wits investigation. But you also have an option here. You have a contact. You have someone specifically on your payroll for secrets. So it's up to you if you want to use your contact. This is something you would have used your contact for. And you don't necessarily have unlimited uses of this contact. So it would be up to you if this is one of the things you would have tapped them for, or something you want to rely on Thalia or Della to have figured out. Yes?
Oh, go ahead.
I think for this particular one, I would have most definitely tapped my contact. Just because of the mysterious nature. And how many uses of that do I have so that way I know?
We'll say 2, because you have a 2-dot contact.
Okay. So yeah, I would have definitely, upon getting any invitation, a madam must make sure that she is secure.
Absolutely.
In fact, when I do my role, I would say that Tholia's investigations would have been on if this woman had protection, if she had any kind of guard. Did she come into the country by herself, or did she come with, an entourage of sorts, and then work inward that way?
I think Dahlia's would be different. I would actually use premonition.
If you don't learn your own character's name, I swear.
Della would use premonition because I have that ability when we would get the envelope.
So you would like to get a premonition of your host. Excellent. So
we're doing this. I'm guessing we're doing this pre
Yeah.
Sure,
this is
sure.
when
Yeah.
we've actually gotten the invitation.
Okay, Thalia, 4 successes on your investigation. Let's see what you get for a premonition. 3 successes on your premonition. And then Riafine using you in their contact. Riafine, what you would have learned, this person indeed seemed to have traveled from Turkey, lingered in France for a while. And you believe, actually, you know, there's rumors that they set up a similar party in France. France is, at this time, firmly under the rule of the Toreador. So your suspicion and all sort of signs are pointing to this individual as a Toreador because of, apparently this was a very interesting party by all means, which is sort of their jam. And also, they would have need to have the respect of the French Toreador to do so. And it's likely they were in the same clan to have pulled those strings.
And that's all I was able to gather from this particular contact of mine.
Yeah, just sort of where they've been, who they're associated with. And then they have a seemingly inexhaustible financial backing.
Okay.
The assumption is it's very old money because there's been no financial movement. So it's not like people are sending money or gathering things or shuffling money around to make these things happen. She just has this available. So she is coming from a fortune and hasn't had to acquire one. Specifically thinking about the host. I imagine your crystal ball, your artifact maybe is a foci for something to trigger. There it is, folks. Your premonition. While you pretend to be a medium and other things, that is a real item. That is a real magic item that you've maybe taken from the pyramid at some point, and it works quite well. So looking into this vision, it's almost hard to see this person. So you get an idea, Phaedra. You can recognize this woman, a very beautiful individual, but they're almost always like eclipsed by this other radiant, there's no other way to describe it but angelic, divine, just like a light, which reminds you of Mithras. Mithras fashions himself the god of like the sun, and he's supposed to be able to emanate this just incredible, overpowering light. It's quite similar to that, but it's not harsh. It's beautiful. I mean, she's beautiful, but there's something, she's in the presence of something like so beautiful it hurts. And you can almost make out the silhouette eclipsing her. Almost make out, maybe this light's coming from like a halo. You can see the wings starting to spread out before it's sort of too much to look at, and you have to bring yourself back and look away. And Thalia, your investigations specifically about if they're protected or whatnot, for someone with this much money and able to travel across Europe without any issue, there is no security, no militia, no bodyguard or servants to speak of, which says a lot in itself.
Yes, it certainly does. Okay.
So that would be the information you're all working with during this moment.
Okay.
Oh, and one more thing, Della. While looking around, while doing your sense the unseen, sure enough, you make eye contact with Vera Volgan, the Russian noble. You can see almost like a kaleidoscope. You could just see an interesting myriad of lights shifting and changing and fractals sort of around her eyes as she's also looking around, one brow raised with confusion before you make eye contact with each other. You imagine she can see something similar on you, some hint that you're extending your senses in a supernatural way. And there's just a long pause while she looks at you, you look at her, knowing each of you are being naughty.
Yeah, I just tip my head, acknowledgement, and then look away.
She continues to look around as well. Okay, back to you guys then.
Before we have gotten here, I think we would have had a discussion of everything that we had discovered before.
Mhm.
Sure.
So what's the plan then?
Find out more since we're all here. This is either going to be delightful or absolutely fucking dreadful.
Well, either way, I'm sure we'll have our fun. Thalia is going to give a smile that almost seems a little too wide for her face. It's very predatory in nature, and she will kind of like, I think something that both of them would be accustomed to, just being around Thalia so much, is the way she just kind of like decides to leave a conversation without being dismissed. And so she just kind of floats away. My intention is to just linger around and see what I might pick up, whether it be people's movements, especially this woman, Grace. Can I see what Grace is focused on in this moment as I just kind of walk through the crowd?
Yeah, please give me a wits investigation.
And I think as Thalia just kind of walks away, Riafine kind of like nods to Della and says, "Don't get caught." And I would go try to find Sir Adrian.
Right
Have a
as
little
you go to walk away, be like, be careful, I wasn't the only one being nosy.
I figured, darling. Just kind of raise a hand and like keep walking.
Okay, excellent. Thalia, not quite a crit, but 4 successes. Nothing messy. Specifically sort of following Grace.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Give me one more roll, actually.
Or
Can you give me a wits stealth? It's not only important to do a good job spying on someone, I assume you don't want it to be obvious that you're doing so.
I do not. In fact, I'd like to use my specialty of stealth against kindred.
That is your specialty, so please add a dice to this.
All them dice and still.
3, it's another messy critical, so that's 3 is going to a 5.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing's going to happen as a result of this. Your beast, it's familiar, it's muscle memory. You're stalking a kindred. You found someone dangerous. You're following them. There's intent there. It's a hunt. Or the beast is mistaking this for a hunt. And in response, you get hungrier. As your hunger goes up by 1. You can kind of feel your stomach gurgle a little bit in anticipation as you stalk this individual. Feeling the hunger pangs sort of nudge you, focusing less on their movements and now looking at their neck. But still able to focus, and still 5 successes after all. And with 4 investigation, so yeah, you're able to follow them and do so without being noticed. This person keeps lingering between group from group. They're sort of group hopping. A circle never fully opens to let them in, sort of thing. It's sort of like when you awkwardly like try to maybe get in a conversation, and it's that thing where like no one actually acknowledges you, but it's not so awkward that you just walk away, so you're just like standing there right outside the circle. They do that a few times. This person is not so great with the social aspects of this, but each time you can see them listening, you can see them looking. It seems like they're information gathering. Not like they're stalking a particular target, more so than locating their target.
Yes. I do have a question about that. That if they are kind of group hopping in that way, does it look like they're really intent on even joining a conversation, or is it that they're trying to make it appear as if they are trying to mingle?
Yeah, it's a show.
Hmm.
Though also it seems like they're noticed a couple times. Like every once in a while there'll be a side eye or something. There's a couple. One of them you hear an actual introduction. So I was like, "Oh, who's this?" And she introduces herself. Grace Roseridge. She explains a very, very minor lineage. It is connected to a family that's connected to a family. Like just enough to, I guess, get you in the door, but not a name that's going to get you any favors. But those who know their lineages, you see one of them listen and be like, oh, yes, so and so, the cousin of so and so. It seems legitimate enough, I guess, to not be shunned. But this is someone who's seems to have probably barely met the requirements to be accepted into high society.
Yeah. And just a quick thought here. So everyone here, is safe to assume, has received an invitation from Fedra.
Correct.
Okay. And that is based off of Kindred High Society, or are these all people that have something worth being invited to such a
Yeah, so it's not strictly only a party for high society, but this is people collected that plan on taking over. So even if you're not already have the high society chops, you need to be able to show you can play the game. Because if all goes according to plan, this will be the new society.
Okay, understood.
But naturally, a lot of those people already sort of found themselves in leadership roles in one way or another. So
Right. Okay.
there's a big Venn diagram cross section of.
Okay, and this particular individual is skirting the edges. All right. Well, delightful. I think Thalia at this point will probably make her way towards Stella, just after a moment of perusing through the crowd, go towards Stella and give her just a gentle tap on the shoulder and say, before when you said that the walls weren't quite there, I noticed that as well. The light itself not coming from any kind of actual source. Have you ever heard of such a thing?
Would I know magic that could do this?
Please give me an intelligence occult.
I'm good at that. Oh God, I shouldn't have said that. I should not have said that out loud.
That the dice will know.
Fully reprogramming Roll20 as we speak.
6 successes. Between that and you had your use of sentient seeing to sort of look, there is a particular discipline that is just that, is illusions. Chemistry, but it's associated with the Ravnos.
The only thing I could think of that could create this much is illusion, which would mean a Ravnos would be around. But we have no research of a Ravnos with Phaedra, do we?
No, the Ravnos themselves are travelers. They're stereotypes about the clan associate them with the Romani. But oftentimes but with that success, that there's like an instinctual, there's a thing with their beasts. There's like a clan bane you're aware of, that like they can't hunker down, sleep in the same place for too long. Like they have to stay on the move. So they're all over. It's not rare for them to pass through, but the UK is not a great, especially under Mithras, a great place for sort of they're considered a low clan to sort of just breeze through in and out. There are better opportunities elsewhere, typically.
Were any Ravnos introduced or announced?
Not a single one.
Then yes, I would make sure, Talia, it would most likely be Ravenous, but no, none were introduced tonight.
Strange. You know, funny thing about light. And as I say that, mentally, I don't know what I would have to roll for this, but just because of what I am and my connection to the Oblivion, light does have an effect on me in that way. Would I feel from this sort of supernatural force any kind of pressure or anything, you know?
No, it's quite calming. The most comfortable you've been in this much light in quite a while. Though you do noting that and noting, because you're always aware of your shadow doesn't interact with the light like it should, because it's not real. So there are real light sources in here that creates shadows. But you could just, because of your awareness of shadows, because of your manipulation of them, you can tell that this supernatural, this fake light doesn't cast shadows like it should. At least not yours, because you know yours. While this is happening, Riafine, you're off to find Adrian, correct?
I am indeed.
And sure enough, he is already sort of holding court. He's gathered some of the most powerful of the powerful, richest of the rich, who has sort of made their own group in one part of the room and are having an uncharacteristically quiet discussion. It's usually quite a boisterous individual. And you can tell on your approach, he's made aware of your approach before you even get there. There's a couple people in the outskirts just like watching for anyone getting too close to this group. And there's a tap and a whisper, and then some to another person to another before it gets to Adrian, who looks up and makes eye contact with you and just smiles.
I smile back and I nod. And I almost kind of like beckon him. Very like I normally
You're going to try to get him to come out of the circle and come to you instead of you enter. Ooh, okay. This is a move. Let's do also, you got the arrogance compulsion happening. So this is perfect.
Yeah.
I'll say if you can get him to obey even your nonverbal command, this will count towards that. Let's do charisma persuasion. And then when it asks for a modifier, add 2. Because, as we all know, Riafine is stunning. You get a 2 dice bonus to things that your good looks will come into play. For a total of 5 successes, which is quite a bit. And is enough to where it seems he was going to just sort of let you come in. There's a pause, a consideration as you try to pull him out of his situation rather than enter his sort of court. He thinks about it, and you can see sort of a curiosity, an intrigue, and a recognition of how useful you could be in situations such as this. And he doesn't make much of a fuss out of it before he just puts a hand on one person as he sounds like, I'll be back. And he excuses himself to some confusion to the rest as they all watch as he leaves and makes his way towards you, meeting you as he stops, bows, takes your hand, and kisses it if you allow.
I do. Adrian, always a pleasure to see you.
The Madame Riafine, I'm delighted and not at all surprised to see you among the chosen company this evening. I was just about to look for you, actually, but now you have me curious. What is it you want from me?
Well, at first it was just a dance. But now, your little entourage has me curious.
I mean, I'm sure you can tell by the current company that there's some very important people here, and there's some very important people missing here. We all know why we're here, right? And I can't help but wonder what titles will fall on who, what responsibilities will fall on who once all is said and done. The powers that be can't have everything figured out after all, and it's important that those of us who know what's best for our island, have our words be heard. So, we're just discussing to make sure that once we do figure out who our mystery benefactor is, what exactly their plan is, that we have a favorable position in this plan, in this regime. And of course, we were considering you as well. Actually, the dance could be perfect.
I would be honored, Adrian. And of course, ever the diplomat now. I agree. Though it seems things may take a little bit more of an interesting turn than I had anticipated for stepping off that ship, as I'm not sure if you've noticed, but the lights, darling.
He glances around for a moment. Yes, chandeliers are quite impressive. I noticed the sconce work as well.
Oh, don't be daft, Adrian. What? Look at the candles. Look at them. Are they lit? Do you see flames?
I mean, yes, Oh. Oh, that is peculiar. Oh, yes. I noticed that when I walked in. I didn't think much of it, though.
Adrian, please. You know you don't fool me well. Anyway, I will not take up too much of your time, lest people suspect things. Yes, I will see you for a dance, and we can talk some more.
We should. You should have a chat with your little friends. I think if all shakes out how I hope it will, that, and of course you and your friends throw your support behind me, I'll make sure it's worth your while once I am in a more favorable position.
Rafine just kind of smirks and turns and leaves, waving as she goes.
Bows respectfully and joins his group that were mostly quiet when he was gone, sort of looking, trying to get a hint of what was happening in that conversation. And as you join your friends, some of the larger doors leading more directly in are suddenly open by the servants, and they ask everyone to please into the ballroom. Go ahead.
I think that as the doors open and Riafin rejoins us, I'll have finished saying to Della that about the shadows and that they're not quite what they seem, or what they should be, rather. And once Riafin joins us, I think I'll just download the rest of them about this woman Grace and how on the fringes she really seems, and so to keep eyes open for others who seem like they just, or trying a little too hard to fit in.
I nod and I kind of very quietly, and in a way that wouldn't necessarily I wouldn't be looking at you. We're walking towards the ballroom. I'm not looking, but I have both of you close enough so that way when I am talking, nobody else can hear but both of you. As I assumed Adrian is making a ploy for power, so it should be an interesting dance. Although he didn't notice any of the happenings, nor did I, but I'm grateful that I have the two of you.
Boy, going to cost you.
What was that?
Oh,
one more time. A little
sorry.
louder. You're okay.
What will that ploy cost you, though?
Nothing yet, because he thinks that I may be subservient to him, and that, my dear, is quite funny.
Right. Well, men will be men, won't they?
Of course, and that is why we cannot allow them to arise to power. Look at the mess we're in.
Right.
And also with that, with you getting him to obey you, your compulsion will have subsided as well. As we enter the ballroom, people start filling in, skirting around the edges, as we can see in the center of this room is Phaedra. Phaedra is quite tall, with long silver hair, matching sort of her soft gray eyes, and they frame her face in these beautiful full curls. She has olive undertones, but still quite pale in complexion. Really small pursed lips, almost a doll-like feature. She's not really wearing like a formal gown of any sorts, more like a very long, flowing robe that seems to like just barely be clinging to her, threatening or maybe enticing to sort of slide off at the slightest wrong move. But she never makes that wrong move. As she takes a few steps, looks around, every one of her movements is perfectly keeps her attire where it needs to be, and seems instinctual, yet extremely well honed. Once everyone has entered, the doors are closed behind you. You can see to the opposite, or up along the balcony as well, as you can see almost an orchestra's worth of musicians ready to play. Another huge chandelier dominating this massive ballroom as well, with a lot of details to different architectural details, art details. It's a very well-made, beautiful room. Brand new, but evokes a sense of like this ancient authority. And she speaks. You can see her mouth barely opens. She speaks quite softly, but like crystal clear. All of you can hear her as if she's standing right in front of you, though she's in the middle of this massive room. She says, Mithras is away, and an angel has come to guide us, remove the influence of that false god. All of you have been selected because we believe you could be part of the dream. There's an opportunity for others, as before everyone was previously stuck worshipping Mithras with little room for mobility. It has happened before, and we believe it should happen in the future, that instead of one tyrant to truly lead our kind, it takes a triumvirate. 3 rulers working together in harmony, each with their own strengths to complement one another. This has been seen as the best way to usher in a new era of prosperity and enlightenment for all kindred. The 3 who will lead will be chosen by our Savior at the conclusion of our events. But even if you are not chosen, you will be part of something great. I promise you. Think of this not as a test, but a celebration. A grand display of the power that our cabal has to offer. We wish to show our strength through us to celebrate our ascension to rulership. Celebrate you all and what you're going to do for this domain. Please do enjoy yourselves above all else. I believe part of the reasons we get into this mess is kindred forget to live, to enjoy the things that the mortals seem more than happy to throw themselves into. We have an eternity to figure out the rest, but it's important to us, and it should be important to you, that we not only rule efficiently, but rule in a way that is enjoyable. That has not been the case, or has almost never been the case when it comes to us and mortals. But hopefully, that will change. Now please, you'll meet the one in question soon enough. But in the meantime, enjoy yourself, celebrate, discuss, exchange ideas, enlighten each other for your goals, your vision for what this domain could be. We don't wish to force our will upon you, but we wish to hear what you all have to offer and create something beautiful out of it. Each voice, each idea working in harmony, an orchestra of excellence. Thank you. And with that, the music starts to play. There's a lot of murmuring, confusion. Some people waste, Harris, Lord Effington in particular, wastes no time immediately grabbing a partner and getting out to the floor immediately, twirling them around and beginning the dancing portion. As there's can I get a willpower roll for or resolve composure roll from each of you? 3 for Madame Riafine, 1 for Della, 1 from Talia. And also remember, you can always do a willpower reroll. And I forgot to mention it, so if you want to do it retroactively, I'll let you do this once. There's also a thing called the blood surge. If at any point you want to rouse the blood, which is potentially risking getting hungrier, you can add at your levels.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna
add 2 dice to any of your rolls too.
Yeah, I think I'll stick with this for now.
Perfect. So, Riafine, you watch as Della and Talia immediately join hands and step onto the dance floor and begin sort of twirling in time with the beat, and immediately are sort of swept up. You feel it, like the music is good, and you feel sort of an urge just to get out there and dance for a second, but you have your composure about you, and you wait and watch, and you're almost caught off guard as you look as those two, who have never been the most sure-footed or enthusiastic about these things, are twirling each other around suddenly on the dance floor. Many others follow suit. Luckily, it's not just them, but it's still strange. And that's where we're going to take our break and come back to this little jaunt very shortly. Bye. We are back. The dance party has begun, with Della and Thalia fully getting into it. Riafine, you're witnessing some interesting choices on the dance floor, as a lot of the kindred seem swept up in this. Though there's certainly less than half, but there's plenty that have their wits about them still as well. How would you like to proceed, Riafine? You're kind of the one who's got a decision to make here.
I'm going to see if Sir Adrian has already been swept away.
No, he is not. He's also sort of looking around. You can tell where he was kind of oblivious to the light thing. He noticed that that was a little weird, because right, he knows the rules of society. He knows like the proper way that everyone like lines up and does this. This is a little too unstructured for his taste.
Mm-hmm. Who is there anyone else of note that I see that is kind of standing still?
You see the Russian noble is standing still out of people we've pointed out. Actually, will you give me an insight wits, please? Two. Yeah, out of the people we've mentioned, that's sort of there's plenty of others, but that's another one that we've mentioned that is also has their wits about them.
Okay.
And the Giovanni. We mentioned the Giovanni. Mm-hmm.
I'm going to play into this a little bit by just almost like I'm cheering like Thalia and Della on. Right?
Okay.
Because maybe my investigation isn't great, but I'm kind of thinking that some of this is off. And I'm almost trying to put on a show to almost seem like I'm taking Phaedra's words to heart, right? About enjoying ourselves and having fun. But noticing that although I felt almost compelled to do it, but I was able to shake it off, I'm playing the game.
Okay. Acting like nothing's the matter here.
Yeah. Or not necessarily that nothing's the matter, but like really taking a heart to what Phaedra said about enjoying ourselves, right?
Oh, okay. Got it.
And like, is there anyone walking around with like glasses or something that I can like scoop up?
Like drink?
Yeah, drink. Like, do we have blood on tap here, or is this not one of those bougie places?
So you've noticed the people walking around with these silver platters with the thin silver knives are the drinks. Every so often, someone would take one of these knives, make a small cut on the servant, take a drink, and then place a knife back. Which is interesting because most vampires prefer sort of drinking straight from the source, or like using your fangs, And you've probably, paying attention to this, noticed that there's been a couple who, I mean, it's also normal just to like offer a wrist or something, and they'll just drink from the wrist. They've made it a habit. It seems to be you're very good at etiquette. It's an etiquette thing you picked up on, that you don't know if it's the host or the servants or what, but everyone's sort of and you've seen some people corrected into this behavior of using the little utensil, making a polite cut and sipping. It seems quite tame. You haven't seen like fangs puncturing skin at all.
Okay. So then I'm going to call over, I guess, the closest one.
Absolutely.
And partake in some of the little, kind, gentle cuts and drinks.
Okay, yeah, you're hanging out, having a drink, watching the dance.
Mhm.
Um,
Is Phaedra still in the room?
yes, Phaedra's still sort of in the middle, just watching it all. Um, she's not the type to like grin, but like her little like pursed lips are just like corners are up in a little polite smile. She's just watching, quite happy at the celebration.
I'm going to approach.
Also, if you, for no reason at all, can make an awareness wits check for me. 2 successes. Everything's fine. You approach Phaedra. As you're sort of moving, some of the people dancing and just you're sort of weaving between them, she looks towards you and smiles as well as you approach.
I just kind of nod and I say, "You have thrown a wonderful party. Thank you ever so kindly for indulging me in this. I do
Oh.
have some questions."
Please, we encourage curiosity and discussion. I hope I can answer them for you.
I've not been to a party where fangs haven't been bared.
Hmm.
It is quite intriguing. Is this a new form of etiquette?
Do you not find it a bit distasteful? Especially among the mortals. Imagine you were to see your brethren bitten into like a simple piece of meat. We simply find this more palatable for everyone. It's certainly more aesthetically pleasing, don't you agree?
I do. I understand why that may be the case. But let me maybe offer an alternative as well.
Oh, you find fault with our way of doing things?
Not necessarily fault, but it would be silly to think that things cannot be built upon to make
You
them
have a
better.
vision for improvement.
Indeed.
Please share.
Well, I know that there are people who are more than willing to allow the bites, but I do understand the distastefulness in an open setting. However, we do have donors. We can chill blood. We can present it in a glass. That way, our mortal friends don't have to walk around and have any sense of bloodshed on the floor, no?
I suppose, but I personally, and I know many agree, find that the further from the source, the less satisfying the taste. Um, we find this to be a compromise. It's not quite the same as biting in yourself, but it is still from the source. Once you place it in another vessel, I'm sure you've noticed it loses some of that. Just what makes it so pleasurable. And that's what's important, that everyone experiences the most pleasure in this exchange as possible. Once your lips are on the wound, then, I mean, that's the good part, right?
I smirk and I nod. Perhaps, but I don't know that that would be feasible long term. How
Really?
would we be able to quell the beast for the future? No? Sure, this is the way now, but there are sects of vampires who do very much believe in allowing their beast to be free. So then I challenge you. How do we allow that to happen in a way that is good for everybody?
Those sects have no place in our dream. We dream of a harmony, of perfection, of beauty. things such as the feral behavior that certain sects, you say, are inclined to, well, it simply won't be the case in our regime. And do not find that this behavior, this ceremony, this etiquette has a way of curtailing the beast. I mean, what's less bestial than fine silverware, the etiquette of delicate slices, the intimacy of drinking, all of the best parts of what we are and what they are take place in this. But I agree that perhaps it is short-sighted. Perhaps there is room for improvement. And I very much appreciate that you're the type to take note of these and to be thinking of the future.
Of course, it is the line of business I find myself in.
Now, the sect you speak of, I assume you're speaking of the Sabbat. I've not heard that they're much of an issue anymore. I mean, it's only been a few years since their little civil war wrapped up, and I know they have peace among them at the moment, but it can't last with a group like that. But is that something you worry about if we were to rule this domain, that we would have the Sabbat to contend with? Do you have any experience with them yourself?
Here and there, I don't think that they would necessarily be the worry, however. I think it's important to cater to the needs of those we have within our walls, as well as the ones we have without, because though we may have disdain for a certain type, everybody has their use and their purpose.
Is that why you've collected among your small group La Sombra, a former Sabbat, and a discarded Tremere? Do you have a penchant for finding those outside the walls and bringing them in? You found success in this.
Kind of giggles. Well, a collection, I believe, is the wrong word. I have not met deeper loyalty. I know that if someone were to come for me, come after me, I can trust them with my own life.
That is a very desirable quality. Trust among the kindred is vital for our survival and for making our dream a reality. This backstabbing, this jihad among us it simply cannot be. Though, I hope you don't find it rude, but perhaps we can test this loyalty you speak of. They seem to be quite enjoying themselves. Would you mind seeing if you can't have them come over to us, cut their dance short?
Reefine smirks again and presses her tongue to her fang. Is that what this is? This music? Because I felt it myself, and I did think it strange. But I'll play.
Please call them over then. So you have options here, Riafine. You have the power of presence. Presence can amplify your ability to draw attention to yourself and make others want to obey you. But you're also just good on this on your own. And also Blood Surge is also possible. Blood Surge does not break the Elysium rules anytime. You can use Blood Surge for any role. So how would you like to proceed here? This will be, let me figure out what the role is first.
Can I use awe, or is that technically not allowed?
Yeah, no, that's allowed. I mean,
Okay.
It's not allowed by the rules, it's allowed by the mechanics. It's your ability to disguise the factor you're using on if it's just your force of personality. This will be a charisma leadership role.
So do I do leadership and then charisma?
Yes. If you'd like to use awe, you'll be able to add 3 dots, your presence rating, to this. It's up to you.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that. So I'm gonna use awe as well. So I'm gonna do
Okay.
leadership.
So that's free. So yeah, click leadership. You'll add charisma.
Okay.
And
And
then
then
when it asks for a modifier, add 3.
Okay.
That's 5 successes. That's 7 successes. You got a critical, and it's not a messy critical. It's on the normal dice. 7 successes. Excellent. So, what do you do? What do you do to get their attention? What do you do to try to pull them over?
I kind of just like position myself, and I would assume that we have created some kind of like nonverbal sign, right?
Sure.
So
Working.
I kind of just like cross my arm over and put my finger on my chin.
Mhm.
And then bring my hand down.
So it's quite subtle, and with awe, even more commanding. This would be quite impressive if it works. Let's see. So with that, Riafine has made the difficulty quite low for you two to be able to resist dancing, but it still will be a composure resolve roll. 3 successes for you as well. Put your hunger at 2 now. Oh no, your hunger will be at 3 now.
It's at 3, yeah.
Amazing.
We're getting a little spicy over here, for sure.
Someone's gotta. So, with the most subtle of movements and closing the hand, each of you feel your attention first diverted, cutting through this sort of jubilant mood you're in and the music that's just pushing you along. Where you notice Riafine, you notice the seriousness of the situation. You're immediately pulled out to this sort of a trance-like state, and asked to go to her side.
For flavor, if you'll allow me, Thalia would be dancing with Della most joyously. And I think that there would be two things noticed about the way that Thalia dances in particular. One, it is not constricted by any sort of high society choreography. It's something more primal, something more innate to who she is. And she leads Della in this, and just to fully close eyes and enjoy the music. And it is only when she, every once in a while opens her eyes, gets a look at the surrounding, continues dancing. As soon as she notices Riafine's command, she'll stop and sort of almost like spin Della out, holding onto her hand still, give a slight bow to the rest of the dancing group, and then lead Della towards Riafine.
I 100% love that. I was going to say, like, you spin me and I see Riafine, we walk hand to hand over there. Yes. Mm-hmm. Perfect.
Yep.
Yeah, as you both ride to her side, Phaedra, no longer smiling, is looking at you, Riafine. You have good insight. You can tell, though, this isn't an unhappy. The smile was for everyone else. That was just for fun. This look of seriousness is one of the most real things you've sensed from her, and you can feel a sense of satisfaction, a sense of you have impressed her with this. And there's no need to. She's peeled back sort of a layer of the communication between you to get a little more real. She just looks at you and looks towards the other two and nods in approval at the 3 of you as you gather.
I smile and I give a single nod back. And I almost kind of like lock eyes with the 2 of them for a second to like let them know like this is big business.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is important. And then I turn back around to Phaedra. So, I'm quite impressed with this enchantment? What would you call it?
A waltz.
A waltz. Yes, a waltz. Very good. I find myself pleasantly surprised.
And with this, there's a throat clear as you see the familiar sight of Duke Adrian Brimsley arrive with some others in tow. And now, let's not hog our hostesses all evening. Miss Riafine, pleasure as always. I was actually hoping I can steal you for a dance.
When he says that, several things. Thalia, when she first arrived in front of Fedra, would have offered sort of a slight kind of incline of the head just to show respect to the host. But when he speaks and says what he says, Thalia will immediately look to Riafine of like, is this a move you want to make in this moment? Or do you need me to shoo the boy away?
I kind of just like put my hand up because I already know. And I give both of you the eyes, like almost like to intervene with the people that he's come with. I'll be right back, darlings. Please enjoy yourselves. Don't dance too hard now. We do still need to make it home. And then I look over to Adrian and I smirk and I offer my hand.
Takes it, bows respectfully, bows to your hostess, and then scoops you up in perfectly proper form and begins in time dancing to the music with you. Now, you must tell me what you've learned. Quite bold to immediately approach her like that, but she seemed a bit perturbed there at the end. I thought it was best to get you out of there before you caught yourself in a bad situation.
Oh, Adrian, my hero. And she just kind of like cackles. No, I was just curious about the music, is all.
Oh, they are quite good, yes.
But you are going to tell me that you didn't find it odd.
Of course, I felt it too, but of course, I don't do anything I don't want to do. Strange, bold even. Speaking of which, quite bold of you to so flagrantly rely on your abilities in front of the hostess.
Sometimes you have to break rules, we both know that.
Sometimes, but breaking rules can, well, see one broken, and I don't want to see that of you. But you must be careful. My man was able to spot your little display from across the room.
Yes, as I was hoping many others would. She kind of says that very sarcastically and like continues dancing. Adrian, let's not mince words. What is it that you need to ask of me?
I want you to stay in good standing with everyone here, but if you're taking this, well, rather callous approach to things, this could work in our favor. I, of course, will need to play the proper role, remain in everyone's good standings, and show everyone how a leader should conduct themselves. Now, you do not have the same constraints, but we all know what you can do with constraints and, well, without them. So, I propose an alliance. Of course, there are to be three who ruled. Of course, you wouldn't necessarily be among the three, but you would consider yourself an honorary fourth, right? The real power is behind the throne, after all, is it not? And while I am able to conduct myself appropriately, you can use your particular set of talents, and he looks over to the others, friends, to perhaps scheme on my behalf. And if things don't go your way, you need not worry about society coming down on you because you will have my protection. Everyone wins.
At this point, Riafine audibly cackles, probably loud enough that it reverberates through the room.
He immediately starts laughing too, as if he also, like, he told a joke that you were both laughing at, that you can see in his eyes kind of a warning glare.
And I kind of very like nonchalantly, as I keep dancing, Adrian, you are very cute when you are determined, but you couldn't even keep 3 of my own safe. They've yet to come back to me, haven't they? What makes me trust that you will not see the same fate for me?
My dear, they were mortals, were they not? And I believe I paid you more than a fair price for them.
Mortals.
Even enough
not
to
mortals.
cover.
Doesn't matter, Adrian. They were mine. They were my property. They belonged to me, and they had immense worth. More than your money could ever pay off. I will say this. I wish you the best of luck. I hope that in the grand scheme of things, we can be allies, but you do forget that I know more about you than you think I do. So let's be cordial, shall we? And, my dear, should you speak of Thalia and Della that way in my presence again, I will have no problem showing you exactly what I keep in my back room. But you are cute. I do hope you stay that way. And come visit me. You do look lovely on your knees. And I will spin out and walk away.
Will you please give me an intimidation charisma? That's 5 successes. He had something, man. I had something in the chamber ready to clap back too. But with that, you spin. You can see there was like twice during that he was like about to say something. He's used to being heard. He's not afraid to interrupt someone. But there's something about your cadence, your presence, that made him wait his turn to talk, which is a feat within itself. And then when he finally got his opportunity, the spin and you're gone, and you see just he's quite good at displaying whatever needs to be displayed, whether he doesn't want to hide it or he's unable to hide it. There's a venomous look that follows you, but you feel it more than see it because they're not watching him. You're moving on to the next thing. He does recover quickly. Those watching certainly would have noticed that exchange, but it would have had to require a keen eye. Yes, Stella and Thalia were definitely among those who noticed that.
Yeah, what you saw us do when you didn't hear us is what we were doing in the game. We were like, yeah!
Like in behind fans that we snatched up from someone, just like,
Be like, oh, that bitch, she did what? Oh.
literally.
Yes.
Amazing.
I will say this, that Thalia herself would have been, of course, paying attention, but definitely corralling his men group. I don't know who's with him, his entourage, and sort of. I think Thalia is good enough at this to be able to, at the very least, intimidate them into not focusing on their master.
You say you want to distract his entourage to focus on you as a potential threat rather than keep an eye on him.
I think I know a way that I can help.
Yes.
I think Della, knowing kind of that she is like a new shiny thing, kind of starts pulling out trinkets and puts them on the table. And it's like, would you like your fortune? Just gonna go full like
To who?
into the role. Just to the people around, the people who came up. Just trying to be distracting and weird.
I think as she does that, just Thalia's presence to keep them focused on Della, even if that means having to kind of physically come up behind them and just gently turn them towards the table.
Sure.
Nothing
Um,
aggressive, just very like, oh, would you look at that?
I will say one of the first to step up is Lord Effington, the life of the party. Typically, he loves this shit. Because
Mhm.
again, it's a popular party thing, and it's sort of fashionable and interesting. Um, had should he not be a vampire, and if he was able to lose his breath, he would be out of breath, but he's not. He steps in, fixes his clothes a little bit because again he was going hard out there. And you can tell he was not under the effect of anything. Like that was all him. It wasn't really necessarily like
Is he the man who starts the mosh pit at the ballroom?
yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
Yes, I love him.
He's a
Uh,
Toreador.
Yeah, he's a little disheveled, but he impressively tidies himself up as he makes his way to the table. And oh, I love this so much. You know I do. I'm a sucker for it. And you know I love the attention too. Everyone gather around. I'm about to have my fortune read. uh,
And
what do I do?
encourages this, opening her arms up and kind of just like,
Uh,
come, just trying to corral the folks.
she's gonna have a bunch of stuff out, and she's gonna like roll some dice and grab his hand and hold the ball, go through all the things, and like one of the last things she does is pull out her cards and just starts like reading a fortune for him. And she's when she pulls out cards, she just make it up. If you've ever Talia and Riafine would have noticed that she never says the same meaning of the cards twice. She's like, oh, it's the ace of coins. You're going to get so rich soon. Oh, it's judgment. You're going to judge so many people because of look at your fine fashions. No one will ever be able to outdress or outdance you. Oh no, the devil, you have a bargain to make very soon.
I think too, just to add the kind of like the supernaturalness of it, totally as flavor, not using a power necessarily, but will like, if I'm able to, because I know shadows are weird with the current light, create a sort of like drawing of shadows towards Della, so it seems as if she's doing a whole thing.
Yeah, it's no real necessary. So you just sort of just minor things that sort of help build the atmosphere and the effect of whatnot.
Exactly.
And depending on his reaction, does he seem bored or like is he enjoying it? The act.
Let's see. Harris himself he was turned young, definitely like younger 20s. Curly blonde hair, a baby face that he tries to make up for with like pretty big mutton chops. Sort of a lithe, a little gangly, but he's this huge, toothy, infectious grin about him. Bright blue eyes. Yes, so he steps up. You take him through the motions. Let's see how much he enjoys this, depending on your. You didn't take. I thought you took performance. Oh no.
No, because you said subterfuge. Because I was lying to people. I didn't need performance.
Well, you're trying to trick him or entertain him. Now, subterfuge works here. Let's do subterfuge manipulation.
Okay.
Can she?
Because the entertainment comes from how believable this is, right? So.
Yeah.
Can she get an extra dice?
Yeah, for you helping with your little shadow stuff, absolutely.
Yeah.
Add a.
my mood lighting.
Yeah. Add one to the
Add that.
modifier to that.
Got mood lighting on. Whew.
Okay.
6 successes. Yeah, it's actually kind of surprising yourself. Like one of those things where you start talking bullshitting and then you weirdly like, oh, that made sense actually. Like I accidentally got deep with that. Kind of impressing yourself. And Lord Effington
Really helped.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And everyone involved, others that kind of look over, like he already sort of brought a crowd in to watch this. And so what's the actual fortune you said to him?
That he would be coming upon a great wealth soon, and that he would be making judgment upon others because no one else is as impressive or as well dressed or as well manicured as him.
Sort of pauses for a second. I have to admit, I wasn't considering it that seriously, but he looks to the others. It seems the first of the three might have been chosen.
Oh, you are destined for great power.
Triumphant.
Greatness lies
Me.
within you. Look at you. Look at the crowd that is gathered around just because you came over. You have
I mean, I
followed
already have
to
such a
shrine.
fortune, but more of a fortune?
Who could ever
And
have
judgment, you say? I'm not the most judgy of people, but I guess judging what to do. Judging
Well,
problems.
anyone who is in
Judging the
great
best
power
way to move forward.
is-
Judging the best way to have a party and for everyone to enjoy themselves under this new regime.
At that point, she like stops talking, just lets him just go.
I think Thalia
Yeah.
encourages
Like-
him on fortune and kind of leans in and it's like, well, fortune comes in more than just gold.
You're quite unnerving, yes.
I'm so
Your words
sorry.
make sense. Yeah, you sort of lean in and he's like, oh, okay, you're here. Yeah, yes.
Oh, I'm
Um,
so sorry, sir. I'm as pulled in as the rest of us here. You have great influence.
Della, we must talk further about what you've seen. Not now,
If
but soon.
you would like, sir, I could always go deeper into the premonitions, deeper into the magics.
That sounds dangerous.
Oh, but what fun could you have delving just a touch into danger?
To see what
Oh, let's
others-
do it. Let's do it. Yes. Everyone,
Uh,
quiet. She needs to concentrate.
I'm going to use premonition then on this situation and him.
I think to make
Using
it so that
another
it's not like,
power.
oh shit, she's using an actual power. I think I will actually. One quick question: is Fredra still around?
Yeah.
She's still lingering.
She's not in this little gathering, but she's in the room.
Okay. She hasn't made a fuss about my shadow situation here. Okay, I think is there because I know you said there's like silver trays and things like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you'll allow me as flavor, we'll create almost a with shadow to make it look as if there are like facets of shadow that surrounds the group and they are in this to make it feel very like we've entered now into an otherworldly space. And sort of creating like I think so her hands would be at her sides, but she would just be like her fingers moving just little by little, where it almost looks like she's got puppet strings and creates this like just a shadow of illusion around to heighten this sense of supernatural, you know,
Okay.
so that it still looks a part of a show. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Della, give me your premonition roll.
Okay, that is resolve and aspects.
You can always blood surge. And then I'm gonna say for this continued use and further use of your shadow, please make a rouse check for me, Thalia.
I will blood surge on this, and you said that's a 3 modifier?
2 for you.
2. Okay. I will roll.
You
then
do
I'll
not get
describe it.
hungrier, Thalia.
I'll roll and then describe what it looks like.
5 successes. You also, if you're blood surging, do a rouse check for me, please. There you go. You don't get hungrier. Nice.
Okay, I got a 10. Hell yeah. What happens is Della pulls out her crystal ball, and what you would normally see, all like the blood running through her veins, drains out of everything down her arms into her hands as her fingers start weeping blood onto it. As when she lets go, it's perfectly clear, and she then gets the premonition from the crystal ball. Which is
These shadows that sort of dance around you continue to grow, continue to engulf the dance floor, the lights, the room, until you're sort of in this void. All the people are still there. And suddenly one of those people screams. And you look over to see a stake plunge through their back, coming out from their front, blood coming out of their mouth. They're a ways down the room. They're not near you, but you see like a splash of blood on Harris. Another person screams, a different side of the room. Their head lobbed off, hits the ground with a thud. As the blood starts to subside, there's another splash of blood on Harris. And he's looking at his hands. And you start seeing multiple people executed. And with each one, like a splash of blood on Harris, accumulating on his hands. To the point where eventually his hands are dripping with blood. There's still splashes everywhere, but it's like focusing on that for some reason. And he looks confused. He looks scared. Until finally he looks up to you, and as he starts to say help, that's when you see the stake come out of his mouth from the back of his head. And your vision sort of shakes and you're back in the room. And he's looking at you excitingly, just hovering over the table. Oh, I can tell you've seen something good.
If a vampire whose blood already drained out of their face could drain again, it's almost like she's frozen for a moment, just kind of staring at it, hoping, expecting it to change, something else to happen. And she's going to look up at you, Thalia, and you probably have never seen fear like this in her eyes before.
Okay.
As she looks back down and just as big a smile comes out, she's like, such great power is in the future. So many things can be accomplished and done if someone has the foresight and ability to grab it. But watch your back.
He immediately spins around.
You never know who is there to stab you in it.
Quite the ominous warning, but I suppose with great power in my future, such a thing's to be expected.
Great power.
Keep my wits about me.
You should.
That doesn't make sense. All right.
I think.
Thank you, Della. And I will keep an eye out for this betrayer.
Yes.
He looks at Thalia. And he slowly starts walking away.
Thalia winks at him. And then
He flinches a little bit.
And then Thalia actually will proceed to go towards Stella, and as the people are dispersing, will, sort of help her gather her things, and then keep her voice and tone low and say, "Is everything all right?"
There was bloodshed everywhere. Everyone is going to die here.
I think at that point, that's when like Rhea walks up.
You see Della obviously shaken. If anyone else is like, "Oh, do me next." Oh, so much energy out of this. I need some time. I need advice.
Give her a moment. Give her a moment. I think she might need to have a little meal, and then we can recommence with fortune telling.
Yeah, some disappointed, some kind of shuffling, and then people sort of start dispersing.
I very matronly, in a very matronly way, kind of just start rubbing Della's back.
At which point I almost grab you by the collar, very out of character.
Shh, come now. It's just
Everyone is going to die. Something is here. Everyone was dying. All the blood was going onto his hands.
Thalia will come around, put one hand on each woman, and say, "We must find a place in which we can speak. We must be careful. Ears are listening, and eyes are seeing more than they are meant to."
Thalia, if you could give me... Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just, that is in reference to Della earlier saying that she's not the only one that was using abilities.
Thalia, please give me a investigation wits. The rest of you may continue.
So as this conversation is happening, I just kind of nod. I take it in. And I say, come now, darling. We knew that was a possibility, yes? And I like say it in a very like soothing tone. Know that we will come out on top. We just have to play the game and play it correctly.
In the vision, did I see any of us?
No, but it was less. I mean, these are. I mean, premonitions can be all sorts of things.
Oh, I get that.
You
I
don't
just wanted to
feel
know if-
safe because of it, like because it's also a feeling. Premonitions just as much as like
Yeah.
an emotion as an actual vision. Not that you were spared, but it just wasn't part of the display you saw.
No, I'm totally cool with that. I just want to know if I for sure saw one of us or not.
No.
This is not a safe place.
We know that. We know. We knew that based off of what Thalia has found.
True. But there were stakes, lots of them.
Mm.
One for everyone.
Actually, and then Della, you could give me. That makes sense with that. Give me a wits occult.
I'm good at a call.
I think as we're, this discussion is happening, Thalia is very subtly, almost like looking up through her lashes out onto the crowd of the room and just seeing the general consensus. Do I spot two things? Do I spot Grace? And having been able to garner the energy of Ria's and Adrian's conversation, do I see him doing anything off?
So a couple things happen there. 4 successes for Della. So your knowledge of the occult, and thinking of this vision, there's a connection there. So knowledge of the occult is also can be knowledge of kindred, and specifically how to kill kindred, and the methods used. I mean, were effective. This is someone who knows how to kill kindred, but specifically, these were like this reminded you of like the Inquisition. These are way humans kill kindred, right? Kindred have all sorts of powers at their disposal to dismantle each other. These were all like effective, like hunter style assassinations.
Have we separated from the main group yet?
No, you're still starting to gather your things. Thalia, looking around, you do not see Grace. No sign of Grace at all. But yeah, you see Adrian, and you see one of Adrian's people that has not stopped looking at you. And it seems to eventually, every couple moments, will just say something to him, and he's just watching you intently. But you do know Adrian called out pretty immediately when Riafine used an ability. You suspect this individual might be the one who spotted it. And as you're starting to you're just about to put up the last of the things. Crystal ball's the last thing left, Ella. An older woman steps right across the little table you'd set up at. A lot of these little like standing tables are around the outskirts of the room. She's perfectly put together, but not intended to impress. Riafine, you would notice like her clothes are dark, but a very expensive material and perfect tailoring. But nothing would really catch someone's eye or someone in the know when it would maybe think she looks a little plain, actually. Rather stern face, just like oil slick hair, just perfectly pulled back and tight and very, very dark. This is Margaret Giovanni. She looks at you, Della. Surely you have time for another reading.
I'm sorry, the last one took so much out of me. He wanted a deeper reading. I just need a moment, just something to eat, and then I'll be back. I swear, you'll be the first one when I come back.
Do I know that this is Margaret?
Yes, she was introduced.
Okay. Do I know her outside of this place?
Um,
Or do I know of her?
she's very recent. So her family, the Giovanni, it's like the whole clan is pretty much like relatives, like actual family. Um, they are necromancers. They diablerize the Cappadocians to become sort of the clan of death. Her arrival is very recent to this, probably controversial that Valerius let her in, because there was a Cappadocian that was very close to Mithras, like one of Mithras's favored people, who disappeared. But all the Cappadocians are supposedly dead now. Like the Giovanni ate them all, supposedly. So obviously Mithras is not cool with them, but Mithras is gone. She's here. Not surprising that she'd be in on the side of the group that wants to take over. But you know, the Giovanni are incredibly wealthy. They're Italian bankers. They have their hands in all sorts of things, and also their whole thing is ghosts, wraiths, actually talking to spirits. And she stands across from you, and you give her your excuse. She says, "Yes, I know it can take a lot out of one to converse with those in the Shadowlands, but for me, perhaps you'll make an exception."
I am going to cut in and I say, Margaret, correct? Perhaps we can do this elsewhere.
No, I think I want you to show everyone what you can do.
I think that is not wise.
She focuses her attention to you for a moment. She glances around the room, almost like you're checking before doing something that can get you in trouble, before her eyes lock on you again.
I am standing there smirking.
I would say Thalia is probably almost directly behind Rhea, with a hand not so far from Della, and is like piercing, locking eyes on this woman.
We all are here for a taste of power, yes? Let us not make any sudden movements that would jeopardize our chances.
Well, she makes a mockery of what me and my family do. Riafine, if you can give me an intelligence and resolve roll. 4 successes. You roll my dice.
You don't have to.
We ain't afraid of this Giovanni bitch.
Oh, listen.
This is a Hakata. They're not called that yet, but this is the Hakata.
This is going to end up real bad.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
I should not have been a fortune teller here. I should not have been doing this.
Yeah, that flavor of premonition was a little rough.
She looks at you. She goes, "You wait on the other side of the room until I come get you." And there's a twinge in your leg as you almost immediately take a step to just do exactly what she just commanded you to do. You're a Ventru. You know dominate, though you don't use it yourself. You know that she just attempted to mentally force you to do that. But you're a stubborn ass bitch, and you stay right where you're standing and look at her. And you see her stern features, there's a crack in it. Their eyes widen just a bit as she took a big risk doing that, and it didn't even pay off as you're still standing right there.
Margaret, darling, I say we talk this out, yes? I know what she said. I also know that I don't want that. So let's not try to do that again.
Yes, I'll be around for conversation. I need a moment to cool down. She gives you one more just nasty look, Della, before turning on her heels and excusing herself.
So edgy. Everybody is so on edge and it is exhausting.
Isn't today supposed to be a party?
No.
Oh, you know how these things go.
We should go find somewhere to talk though, quickly.
I agree.
Come. And Thalia will sort of head off to find a spot, whether it be in a different room or just a different space where they can get some privacy.
As you start to head off, all of the lights dim, which is weird because that's not a technology that exists at this time.
No, it is
And there's just this glow, this warm pulse of light from that main chandelier and just from the center of the dance floor itself, as somehow people have instinctually just sort of cleared the area. And again, this balcony is all around this room, mostly where the musicians are, but you can feel your attention pulled towards one in the center of one of the walls, this sort of pulpit that comes out. And you don't even know when they got there or how long they've been there. But you all see a figure dressed in just long white robes. A porcelain mask. Angelic is the only way to describe it, like a cherub almost. Long blonde hair, perfectly parted, framing this mask, and a glow that you can only describe as a halo, just sort of seeming to emanate from behind their head. And then your attention's drawn, and you don't even know when they came in, but you see Phaedra with what is clearly a Nosferatu. Interestingly, the only Nosferatu you have seen here. Woman dressed in nice formal wear, but clearly afflicted with the Nosferatu bane. A sort of sickly gray, wrinkled skin covering the arms and face that are exposed. And you can see this individual's a huge sort of underbite jaw with just 2 rows of teeth just coming from the bottom, though, just sort of all gnarled and twisted in each way. And that's not the only place you see teeth. You see on the back of their neck and their head, parts of their arms. There's just random growths of little like clusters, like barnacles almost, but they're teeth. Sharpened ones. And this person's out in the middle, and you can see the attention is uncomfortable for this individual. They seem very out of place in their dress, and they're hunched a bit, and they immediately look around as all the attention goes to them. And you even hear a couple sort of like noises of dissatisfaction, some like uhs and whatnot, and this is inappropriate. What's the meaning of this? And a couple whispers of freak. And it seems wrong. It seems sacrilegious to see this creature in the glow of this divine perfection, this thing that just exudes beauty and grace and good. There's often a belief in these times that one's physical appearance reflects what's inside. And even if you know that not to be true, it feels true in this moment. This truly feels like good shining down on evil just from appearances alone, despite what you might know to be not true about those assumptions. Phaedra looks around. We ask you not to follow blindly. You have all been chosen to be here. You all deserve to be here. But we believe it is right and just for us to show you just a small mote of what we can do of the goodness, of the beauty, of the perfection that we can bring to all of you and this entire domain. Witness. And she has one of those little porcelain masks herself, which she places on the Nosferatu. And then she steps back. And Nosferatu just sort of holds, like, is confused, and then just sort of like holds it to their own face. And then looks up at this angelic figure. There is no light on the room except the light pouring from behind this individual, just boring down onto this Nosferatu. It is beautiful, it is pure, it is cleansing, but it's burning. The Nosferatu starts to scream. There's almost a sense of danger as your beasts sort of get nervous for a moment. You can even smell singed flesh, specifically coming from this mask that, despite it seeming to be burning the face of the Nosferatu still holds to their own face until they don't, until the mask cracks, and under their screaming that echoes onto the porcelain is muffled a bit, but still is breaking out as the cracks continue to form. Their hands holding it so hard to their face that it breaks. Bits of the porcelain fall down, have cut them a little bit. And you see just an elegant, regal, pure looking woman where that Nosferatu was once. It is the Nosferatu. But they're cured if you believe their bane to be a curse. The disfigurement, there's something with the Nosferatu that makes them other, that makes them inhuman. All of that's been taken away. And you see a beautiful sight. This Nosferatu, or whatever they are now, looks around confused at everyone just looking at them. And you can see their posture change, and they see they're not being gawked at. There's still confusion, but there's not disgust. And when they turn to Phaedra's holding a mirror that she shows to them, and they begin to weep blood looking at what they've become. And I think that's a great place to end this session.
You son of a mother. God damn
I am a son of a mother.
it.
You got me there. Excellent. I'm fucking loving this. I'm loving you guys. And we got more stuff to do. But yeah, that's where we're gonna stop things for now. A lot of things are in the works. Our group has already gotten themselves in trouble and already completely handled some people that I thought would be a bigger problem. So I love this. I love this already. So please tell the people who you are, what you're up to, and just say whatever you want without hurting my feelings. Starting the same order. Raven, who are you? What are you up to? What are you doing?
How am I supposed to do that when this just happened? How am I? Hello? Excuse me?
Hello?
Okay, fine. Hi,
One more
I'm
hour.
Raven.
One more hour.
Right? I'm Raven. Wreck-It Raven everywhere on the internet except TikTok. It's Wreck-It.Raven. You can catch me on my stream very sporadically right now because I am doing a lot of tabletop stuff. So you can find me here. I am taking a break from the Eldritch Tide, but you can find me on that in the end of August. I will be doing a couple little mini series here. I actually just GM'd my first Monster of the Week campaign, which was a whole bunch of fun, and I hope to do more of that. I am planning a Happiest Apocalypse on Earth campaign. So if y'all are interested, hit me up. Boop, 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 boop. But yeah, you could just find me on the internet. Thanks.
Do it. Find them. And while you're at it, also find Chastity.
I'm Chastity. I played Thalia tonight. You can find me all over the internet on all the socials as the Risa Rave. This is what I do, TTRPGs. You can find me here. You can find me on Table of Horrors, and very, very soon you can find me on Lanyap Gaming, where we'll be doing all kinds of TTRPGs. For updates on all those things, the best place to find me when it comes to that is on Twitter. I had things that I was gonna say, but I'm a little blown away right now, so I'm a process, and then maybe next time I'll have something more clever to offer.
Look, we're jumping. We got all time in the world. You get to say whatever you want next time. And you will be with us next time, maybe April.
Hi, that's me. I'm April. You can find me everywhere as April Raygun. I am doing things. I don't know when this is happening on the internet for you to be watching. But on Saturdays, you can find me on the D&D Jordan Lee channel, playing I don't know, this is a redacted character that you'll meet when the first episode comes out. That's on Saturdays. I have some other things coming out. The Chthonic kids are back soon, playing some Good Society. Again, I don't know when we're airing this, so that might have already happened. If not, the Chthonic kids are back. And there's some other things. Just follow me on Twitter. And maybe to see me with Raven on Happiest Little Apocalypse, because this is my official saying Raven, call me.
Yeah, clearly a professional. If you want to work with professionals like April, find them on Twitter. Otherwise, I'm Bully. I do a lot of vampire stuff. Haven't done a lot of vampire stuff in a while, and this is what a fun thing to jump back into the vampire with. This has been great. Excited to see where this goes. This is also goals. Yeah, keep watching this. If you want to see other kind of mini cult chronicle stuff, just go to our YouTube. Go to Table Goth. That's where all of our stuff is. Anyway, that's it for us. We have some stuff to talk about, and we'll be back next time to see what happens. Thanks for watching. Feel free to dine with us again soon. Bye.